serious, Redditors who ended up marrying your high school sweethearts, what is your story? We knew we wanted to get married. And one day we kind of looked at each other and were like, what legitimate reason is there to wait besides social expectations? I graduated in June, turned 18 in November, and we got married in January so we could keep the same anniversary. It's been 5 years now. It feels like it's always been me and David going on adventures and getting up to shit. We're partners. In every sense. We've been through unemployment, college classes, living under the poverty line, working 2 jobs and 60 hours, depression, sickness, hospital stays, the death of our first child, and now the birth of our second child is only 8 weeks away. We fit a lot of living into 5 years. And the rest of our lives will likely prove just as interesting. I've known him since I was 14. We're salt and pepper. Met her in 1970. Started going out in 1971 at age 16. Married now 38 years. Mostly because of her determination to stick it out and make a complete human being out of me. Best girl ever. I don't know if it's appropriate. But can you share how do you keep her by your side for so long? I'm dating this girl and she's been bringing the best out of me. Teaching me constantly of the small things to build me into a better person. But she's getting sick and tired of teaching me. We fought a couple of times. Is there any advice to keep her going? I feel like she's taking care of me and it's not like a spouse relationship. I'm lost. Still married after 12 years, only argued the once. Unfortunately it's still going on. Made me laugh a bit. This was my parents' tea. We met in high school 13 years ago. We did not care for each other, very meet cute type of story. By the end of junior year we were dating. We went to different colleges across the state. And kept on going through it. We got married a couple years after that. House in the burbs. Kids. The works. In fact, I'm typing this on my phone right now with a newborn asleep on my chest. Couldn't be happier. Or more tired. We dated junior and senior years of high school. But decided we had to do college separately so we could be more independent. We went to schools 500 miles apart and tried to break up during freshman year of college, but we both hated it and had no interest in dating anyone else we met. We got back together at Christmas break of freshman year. We both got job offers in the same city out of college and decided to take them. We didn't live together the first year out of college but moved in the next year and lived together for about 3 years before we quit our jobs and went traveling. So we decided to get married to make it easier to live in a foreign country together. We figured we would get married eventually but weren't really in a rush until we had a specific reason prompting us. We've since returned to the States. Both have jobs we love. And just bought a house together. We have 2 cats now and have no plans to have kids anytime soon because we are having too much fun just being the 2 of us. Having done long distance and having it work out. I still discourage others to do it unless they have very good reasons. Unless you are both in a place where you're comfortable with yourself and have a good level of independence. One or both of you are going to be miserable. Moved in together at 19. Married at 22. Divorced at 29. We still had a lot of growing up to do and ultimately wound up wanting different things out of life and just grew apart. Fortunately we didn't have any kids together. So it made it a little easier for both of us to move forward. Wow. This could, almost, be me. Except that I left him after 2 months of marriage and will only get around to divorcing him this year. We had been together from 15. Moved in together at 19. Married at 22 and will be divorced age 29. I met my husband junior year of high school. Our first conversation we ended up arguing about the death penalty. I was writing a paper on it, and ended up not interacting again for a few months. Fast forward a few months, my friend was thinking of dating him, so she started acting interested but then decided she wasn't and just started ignoring him, which all the other girls in the group did too when he would come hang out with us for lunch. I was like, duck that, and we started talking and realized we had a ton in common. We spent a semester apart in college and then I moved to be with him. Not a very exciting story, but we have been together almost 9 years and we got married about 2 ago. I never thought I would marry my high school sweetheart, but I guess life had different plans. Met when we were both 16. Started dating a few months later. People thought we were nuts, but I knew after a year he was the one. Managed to work our asses off to be in the same city for grad school and survived our PhDs together. Been together 13 years. Married for 4.5 and have 2 fur babies. He is my best friend and I wouldn't change a thing. Met at 14. Started dating at 15. Went through ups and downs. Broke up once for 2 weeks. Got engaged on our 11th anniversary of dating and got married 15 months later. We waited a long time to get engaged because I wanted to graduate college. Took me a lot of stops and starts and start a career. This year will be 30 years together and 17 years of marriage. She is the best friend I've ever had and she makes me laugh and smile every day. She is an amazing mom to our 2 kids. We met when he was a senior and I was a junior at Model UN. I waited for 2 days for him to ask me out. When he didn't, I did. Which was something extraordinarily out of character for me and the best decision I ever made. We have been together 20 years and married for 14. We have a 4-year-old son. Life is rocky right now. But I would rather have him with me than smooth sailing with anyone else. I love him so much and am grateful for him every day. Met at age 14 in geology class. Dated for 1 week in year 11, 15 years old. Then began dating seriously after I broke up with my boyfriend when we were in year 13, 17 years old. Both went to university about 100 miles apart. Saw each other 2 weekends out of the month. Moved in together when we both went to the same city to do our MSCs for 12 months. Moved into a flat in another city together once we had both got jobs. Married in April of last year, 2014. Nearly at our 1-year anniversary. As some others have said, I never thought I'd marry someone who I began fancying when they looked like a lanky Rupert Grint, but here I am. Met her sophomore year and fell in love with her the moment I saw her. The only problem was she had a boyfriend she had been with for almost 2 years. By junior year we were friendly and I made my move. I asked her to the prom. Even though she was still seeing the other guy. Today is actually our 9th wedding anniversary and 16 years since we started dating. Okay. I met him on the side of the road at 17. I was in a car with my mom. He was walking down the street with a guitar. I yelled out the window, "Hey sexy." Mom pulled over the car so I could go see what's up. Fast forward if you can 5 years. Married for a year and 2 sons later. We start having trouble. He started beating me up in front of our kids. It's been a little over a year since I left him and my life is torn upside down. I've made so many horrible decisions in my life. I just feel meeting him was wrong. If it wasn't for our sons, I would have committed suicide in August of 13. He made me do some pretty terrible things and I never regained my self-worth. I'm now a 25-year-old who lives with her in-laws. He took over my family. As I took his. Most people can't understand why I left the way I did. I fell in love with someone else. Which is expected, I guess. You can only go through life living for someone else for so long. I'm ranting now and wondering if anyone's reading this. I'm still technically married to him. But have been dating his brother who I've lived with for a year. Yeah, shit got weird. Technically, we aren't going to be married until August. But I proposed in September. We've been together for about 5 years. It started with her and I both hanging out with our separate friends in the computer tech classroom during lunch. I was just sitting there and I heard her humming a stupid song from the internet, Kill the Zombies by Andrew Pants, and I started signing along. She started to sing aloud with me. And we laughed. After that we started hanging out together at lunch. About a year later, her junior year, my first of college, we started officially dating. Though our friends swore we had been dating for months already. 2 years later we got an apartment. And last September, I took an E while we were spelunking 300 feet underground in a cave that sparkled like gold. Edit. The fiancé insists I include this part of the story. A few days following that first meeting, I saw her walking down one of the school hallways about 50 feet ahead of me. And I called out her name. As she turned around, I mimed drawing an arrow on an invisible bow. Then shot her with it. It's something I regularly do to my friends, without missing a beat. She dropped her books and papers and clutched her chest as she collapsed to the floor and laid there dead for a full 30 seconds. It was so well done that someone almost called for the nurse. And all I could do was clap in amazement. I've been doing theater for years. And I had rarely seen a stage fall that good from seasoned actors. She's still intensely proud of it. Met in a castle in Europe at the end of my junior year. Started dating that fall. After graduation I left to go to college in the States. He stayed to live in Germany. Broke up on friendly terms. 6,000 mile distance is a rick. After I graduated college 5 years later we hooked back up on a whim. Got engaged on the phone. Was married by Thanksgiving. It's been 13 years. Not bad. Would recommend. I met my husband when I was 15 and he was 16. We dated very briefly but stayed in touch after we broke up. When I was almost 17, he asked me on a date and we decided to try again. We've now been together for 13 years and married for 11. We have 2 little girls and life is pretty sweet. We met when I was in 8th grade. He was a freshman at our church's youth group. Went to high school together. Went through tons of ups and downs. Both went to our local community college and lived on our own for a while. We got engaged Christmas Day 2013 and are getting ready to celebrate 1 year of marriage. Can't imagine a life without our story being exactly like it is. I loved every second of it and don't think life is long enough to spend together. Even being married pretty young. Sat next to a girl freshman year English. Totally crushing. She ends up going out with best friend at the time. She remained off limits, bro code, when they eventually broke up 6 months later. But we became really good friends. Fell hard for her sophomore year but stuck to bro code. Went out with some cheerleader. Broke up. Best friend went out with cheerleader so bro code officially broken. Chased her junior year. She wasn't interested. Chased her senior year. Not interested. Prom came. I got no date. She got no date. She calls and asks to take a picture with her as friends at the prom. I ask her if she wants to go as a date. Hit it off. Best friends. 5 years later. We're engaged and living together. Planning on being married in 2 years. Short and sweet. Sorry if I broke the rules because we're not married yet. We started dating when I was a junior and she was a sophomore. We tried the long distance thing when I went to college and it worked out. She came up nearly every weekend and none of the girls I met at school were cuter or funnier or chiller than my girl. She went to Massett in Boston and I went to UMass in Amherst for the next 4 years. We just alternated weekends and had the best of both worlds. Party school in the woods and hipster school in the city. We moved to Spain after graduating. And then back to Boston. We were together 10 years before we even started to care about having a wedding. But we did 5 years ago. We have a nice condo in the city and great jobs. We've been loving life and traveling but are finally ready to start a family. Started dating at 17, me, and 16, her. Asked her dad if I could date her. He said yes. And we dated for 3 years. I was considering going to school in another state that would put our relationship for up to 3 years. Potentially forever. Decided not to go and proposed. Short engagement, 6 months. Her parents didn't agree and said they wanted nothing to do with us. Mine were stoked. Budgeted $1,500 for the wedding. Spent $1,200. Been very happily married for almost 3 years now. Got a long ways to go but we both look forward to the coming years.